College football continues to trek on as we close in on the final playoff standings. Outside of two or three teams in NFL, it is still anybody's game. All that coming up. Let's talk football. All right, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Football. This is episode 14. I'm your host, John Behrens.
And I'm Joshua Perkins.
Okay, so college weekend was a kind of bit boring for me. Nothing unexpected. Notre Dame destroyed Florida State.
It didn't come as a surprise to me.
They had a blocked PAT return for 2 points.
I mean, that rarely happens. I mean, doable, but it rarely happens.
I mean, you know, and of course the pregame announcers were playing up of like it could be a potential big game, but it's like, no, straight out of the gate, Notre Dame pretty much owned a less than impressive Florida State team.
Well, I mean, Notre Dame, they came in with a chip on their shoulder, and it just seems that every game from this point forward, they have to have a chip on their shoulder because a lot of people don't see them being undefeated. The reason why some critics and analysts gave Florida State some type of shot was due to the fact that Ian Book didn't play. He was hurt with upper body injury. And Brandon Wimbush came in. Brandon Wimbush, he's not the most accurate quarterback. I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure he was excited about the opportunity to step on the field. But then again, I mean, he was 12 for 25, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. He coughed the ball up twice, and he completed less than 50% of his passes. And that was an issue within Notre Dame's offense. You know, but with Ian Book's a lot more accurate. He makes better decisions. And so with the Ian Book, the offense runs more smoothly. Ian Book has to stay healthy, especially towards the end of the season, because this is around the time Notre Dame needs him. You know, they're getting ready for Syracuse this weekend. This is going to be a huge game for Notre Dame. They're going against the Syracuse team, and a team that I feel has, I mean, this is the best they've looked in a long time. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame obviously they haven't been championship good since 2012, and even that was not elite level. So the question is, you know, can they come in and produce against a top team like Alabama? You know, I don't know. They tried before and failed.
I mean, back in 2012, I mean, that was 6 years ago. I mean, there's no telling, you know, how Brian Kelly has evolved that team. I mean, honestly, if I put Notre Dame against Alabama now, I mean, it would start off probably like a close game, but then it'll turn lopsided real quick just because of how consistent that Alabama offense is and how suffocating their defense is.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I want to say a little surprisingly, Alabama's offense struggled a little bit against Mississippi State's defense.
Well, Mississippi State, and there's something that I've always praised Mississippi State on, is the fact they have a very stout defense. Offense, that's a totally another story. But one of the things that happened was Tua Tagovailoa being taken out in the third quarter because of his knee. And he's been having problems with his knee for the past couple weeks now. If I'm Coach Saban, I would sit Tua Tagovailoa against the Citadel. I mean, if you put in your third string against the Citadel, hey, put me in against the Citadel, and we'll still get a blowout victory.
Yeah,
because you need Tua Tagovailoa when you go against Auburn. Yeah, though Auburn, they struggled this season. That's not a team to overlook. And now on that, you got Georgia in the SEC championship game. You got the 14 playoffs.
Right. What is it going to take for Mississippi State to get a functional quarterback?
Well, I mean, one, of course, recruiting. With Nick Fitzgerald, I like Nick Fitzgerald. I mean, he's really good running the ball. I feel that he could be a really good passer. There are some things in this game that he has to change as far as like decision making and just his presence in the pocket. But I feel that Mississippi State should go for like a balanced quarterback. Just do the type, That's how I feel about Mississippi State as far as their offense. I mean, they are a run heavy offense, but I think they need to incorporate a little more passing. But they need to stress pocket presence. They need to stress decision making, and that's really big for a quarterback.
Okay, so, I mean, the top 10 just kind of ran away. Oh, well, there was that close game between Oklahoma State and Oklahoma where Oklahoma State decided not to go for the PAT.
Which I thought was a completely dumb situation from Coach Gundy.
Completely
dumb decision.
Yeah, I get that there was over a minute left to play, but still, you went for 2, you missed, and you lost.
And honestly, I mean, with Oklahoma, I mean, I don't know about their chances. If they get into the 4-team playoff, which if they win the Big 12, most likely they'll get in. Most likely. I don't like their chances if they go up against a Clemson team or a Alabama, just due to the fact that there is no defense. Oklahoma doesn't really have a defense. I'm just going to say it right then and there. They gave up 46 to Texas Tech. They gave up 47 to Oklahoma State. Like, there's absolutely no defense in the Big 12.
I would not want to be in the playoffs this year with a defense like Oklahoma.
You wouldn't want to be in with a defense like Oklahoma?
Yeah, I would not. I think if Oklahoma got into the Final Four, it would be pretty. Well, it would be like Oregon versus Florida State.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I would not expect a close game. They would probably end up drawing Alabama and get destroyed.
Most likely. It's just, I mean, for Oklahoma to win against a team like Alabama or Clemson, Kyler Murray would have to carry that team. I mean, Kyler Murray, he's had a phenomenal year. He's a Heisman candidate. Even though, I mean, he's not going on to NFL, he chose to go to Major League Baseball. I mean, he's had a phenomenal season.
Mm-hmm. So Northwestern will be in the Big Ten title game.
Can't believe that happened. I'm still in shock that it's going on. I mean, Northwestern, they've been one of the better competitors in the Big Ten this season. One, they got a pretty good defense, and two, they play for each other. I mean, their wins have not been pretty, of course. It's all about L's and W's. That's what, to them.
Yeah. Also, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like Iowa State actually has a shot at the Big 12.
They actually do. I mean, they would need Oklahoma to lose, of
right.
course.
If Oklahoma loses again, to West Virginia, which Iowa State has beaten West Virginia.
I mean, I think Iowa State probably has a fair shot. I think Iowa State, they've evolved over the past years. Because you remember Iowa State football used to be in the doldrums.
Yeah.
They used to be one of the worst teams in the Big 12. It was like, it used to be, Kansas used to be one of those good teams in the Big 12, and Iowa State used to be down in the dumps. And now, like, the tables have turned sort of bit. But for Week 12, I actually have some upset alerts.
Oh, really? All right, go.
Upset alert, I have I got Notre Dame on upset alert as they go against Syracuse. I also have West Virginia on upset alert as they go against Oklahoma State. I mean, looking at how Oklahoma State performed against a very tough Oklahoma team this past weekend, and Taylor Cornelius, Oklahoma State quarterback, has had a phenomenal season. I mean, though the Oklahoma State Cowboys are 5-5, Taylor Cornelius has had an amazing year. He has over 3,000 yards passing already. He's passed for 23 touchdowns. And not only that, what I found out was that he's been one of the more patient guys on that football team. He waited 9 semesters to finally get a starting spot.
Okay. Anybody else? So, I mean, you don't see
Also, UCF, I put UCF on upset alert. They're going against a tough Cincinnati team. I would put maybe an upset pending alert. Also, another good game would be Iowa State and Texas. I actually have Iowa State beating Texas this weekend.
I mean, it's possible. They're a pretty solid team this year, and It doesn't look like anybody in the Big 12 really has much of a defense. So yeah.
I mean, it's possible. So also LSU is a 43-point favorite against Rice this weekend. Now, a little background on the Rice Owls. They come from the Conference USA. They're riding a 10-game losing streak after winning their season opener. Their season opening win came from a last-second field goal victory over Prairie View A&M. And I told John this before we started, and he was like, wait, not the Prairie View from the SWAC. Yes, the Prairie View A&M Panthers from the SWAC.
So you don't see the Citadel upsetting Alabama?
Oh, not a chance.
And I guess you don't have much hope for UMass against Georgia.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
Liberty against Auburn?
Nah. Had to think about that for a second. Liberty upset Baylor last season, but I don't see them going to Jordan Hare and upsetting Auburn. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Also, another team that's continued to surprise me is Washington State.
I feel Washington State keeps winning and gets some help in the top 10. First off, they have a legitimate shot at the Pac-12 title,
which they haven't really competed for since, I'm going to say, the early 2000s.
I mean, over the past few seasons, over the past couple seasons when they had Falk at quarterback, it was like they were right there, but they couldn't really get over the hump as far as getting to the Pac-12 title game. This year, the door is wide open for them. If they win the Pac-12 title and get some help in the top 10, they might have a shot at the 14 playoff, possibly. But they gotta keep the pedal going.
Well, outside Alabama, I don't think anybody, maybe Notre Dame. I don't think anybody really has, an unblemished record, so to speak, or isn't going to go into the playoffs with any questions or potential eyebrow raisers. Quite frankly, I don't think there's that many clear-cut playoff teams this year outside of Alabama.
Well, I wouldn't even consider Alabama a clear-cut playoff team. They got to go against Georgia in the SEC championship game. And conference championship weekend, that's a weekend that can make or break some teams. So, I mean, would I say Alabama's automatically in as of now? No, they got to go against Georgia. And Georgia's trying to get in. So, you really can't count anybody in right now. Now, see, if Alabama had to play against Kentucky, I would just say, you know what? Alabama's going to be in. We don't even have to discuss that.
All right. Well, the top 7 hasn't changed at all this week, and that's not too surprising. Okay, NFL. It started off with the spanking of the Panthers on Thursday Night Football.
Big Ben was a man possessed out there. He was 22 of 25, 328 yards, 5 touchdown passes. Antonio Brown, 6 catches, 96 yards and a touchdown. And Pittsburgh put up 457 yards of total offense, while their defense held Carolina to only 242 yards of total offense and made Carolina cuff the ball up twice in the game. So all around dominance for the Steelers this weekend, last week.
Yeah. Bears are actually starting to put up some offense behind Michael Trubisky.
Bears are really coming along.
Mitchell.
They really found their stride. Bears are 6-3. I mean, right now they're on top of the NFC North right now.
I mean, it's kind of weird to sit here and think of Chicago actually having an offense.
It actually is. I mean, their offense, they've been on, on the short end for many years now. But with Mitch Trubisky, Trubisky's growing right in front of our eyes. He's gaining experience. He's getting a lot better. He's getting better every week. This Bears team can turn out to be one of the more dangerous teams in the NFL. If they keep playing the way they're playing, I see a lot of good things in this franchise. I mean, and after they got Khalil Mack, I had said that Bears, they might not make the playoffs this season, but they're going to improve. They're going to progress. But it seems the Bears are ahead of schedule this season.
Yeah. Big surprise of the week is a absolute dominating victory on all phases of the game by the New Orleans Saints, 51-14 over the Bengals.
Lord.
At Cincinnati.
At Cincinnati. We're just going to put it out there, at Cincinnati. So for those who may not like the Saints, you may not like them, but you guys start respecting them. I mean, no, that Drew Brees passed up Brett Favre for second all time in most passing touchdowns. Next up on the list is Peyton Manning, who's thrown for 539 touchdowns in his career. So Drew Brees would need to throw like 30 more touchdowns in order to pass him up.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. You think he could do it all in one season?
Probably not.
Hey,
I mean, 30 touchdowns in what, half a season or less than half a season. That's a lot, dude.
That's a lot to expect out of you. You know how much you got to throw the ball? I'm just doing wishful thinking right now. So,
I mean, had the Saints got off to a better start through the year,
this is the best start I've seen them go on since their Super Bowl year. When at this point in the season they were 9-0 in 2009.
Yeah.
I mean, and the Saints, they're looking amazing right now. I mean, if you look at it, they dominated on all cylinders. The Saints had over 500 yards of total offense. They held Cincinnati to under 300 yards. And here's this stat. The Saints controlled the clock. They controlled the turnover margin. Saints had 33 first downs. They made Cincinnati cough the ball up twice. And the Saints held the ball for 39 minutes and 46 seconds, while Cincinnati only had the ball for 20 minutes. That is just all-out domination. They suffocated the Bengals and pretty much took their will from them.
I think the Saints had something like 26 first downs, and the Bengals had something like 30 offensive plays total.
Like, it's total domination. You look at Drew Brees, 22 of 25, 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, while Mark Ingram, first time this season, rushed for over 100 yards in the game, and Michael Thomas, who's continued to dominate, who's emerging as one of the best receivers in the league, 8 catches for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. While the defense held Andy Dalton to 12 of 20, 153 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. And what I like about this team is just the confidence they have in each other. As you saw at the end of the first half, Andy Dalton threw an interception to Marcus Williams, and Marcus Williams, he nearly took it to the house. He was brought down with 8 seconds left in the first half. Saints offense chose to get a play in because they had like 2 timeouts left. So the Saints offense went out there first, see if they can get a play in. And on that play, Drew Brees throws a touchdown to Michael Thomas. And the Saints went up 35-7 at the end of the first half. If you look at how this Saints offense has performed, I mean, 51 points this week, 45 points last week.
Yep. Another big surprise of the weekend, Browns 28, Falcons 16.
What happened to Atlanta? Atlanta, before their bye, they dominated Washington out there in D.C. And they go to Cleveland and just...
Nick Chubb, 23 touches, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Nick Chubb, I see a bright future in that kid.
Well, what looks like the team up between Nick Chubb and Baker Mayfield, I would think have Brown fans looking a little bit towards the future now.
Oh, definitely. Also with Jarvis Landry at receiver, they got David Njoku at tight end. You got Myles Garrett on the defensive side, who's been having a pretty good year. You got Jabril Peppers on the defensive side. They got Denzel Ward. This Browns team, there's a bright future in them. I might not see playoffs in them this season, but when they go in the off season and they do go through the draft and they do the off season, I see a lot of good things going the Browns' way. So it seemed like the firing of Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson was probably a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Because, the Browns went out there and looked like they went out there and looked like a well-oiled machine. Baker Mayfield played an amazing game. He was remarkable in that game. So the Browns definitely going in the right direction.
And continue on, Jaguars continue to struggle.
Despite having Fournette back.
Yeah, 29-26, lost to the Colts.
The Colts started off the season struggling, and it seems like Colts are trying to find their stride a little bit.
Yeah.
They're progressing.
Well, an amazing thing is they're not out of the playoff picture.
The Colts?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I consider them a team that's in the hunt in the AFC, but they gotta keep winning.
Right now, while the division leaders are starting to take some shape, the wild card is still anybody's game.
Well, the wild card is always anybody's game every single season, and it's just for the wild card. And one thing I learned over the years, you can never count the wild card. I mean, I remember when the Giants beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Giants came in as a wild card. They played the wild card on the road. They went to the divisional round, played on the road, NFC Championship game, played on the road, and then they went into the Super Bowl and played against an undefeated Patriots team and upset them. So you can never count the wild card. So these teams that you're looking at there are 4-5 or 5-4 or 6-3. Don't count those guys out.
Here's a surprising stat. Again, that was a pretty surprising weekend for the NFL. Jets 10, Bills 41.
Now, I will tell you this. No, Nathan Peterman did not turn over a new leaf and just played his heart out. No, Derek Anderson was not out there. Guess who the Bills had out there? They took Matt Barkley off the street and put him on the field and won 41-10. I think the Bills found their new starting quarterback.
Yeah, actually, they just released Peterman.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
No.
Not surprised at all.
So, okay, another big surprise for NFL. So, there's be more of those. Tampa Bay had 501 yards of total offense
and 3 points.
How? How does that happen?
They can't finish a drive.
But still, I mean, you should think there should be a few more field goals in there. I mean, it's 501 yards of total offense. You can only come up with 3 points.
They lost to the Redskins 16-3. I mean, Redskins pretty much solidified themselves as top of the NFC East. But going back to what you said, John, 500 yards and only 3 points. I don't think I've ever seen a game like that.
You can't even get another pair of field goals, like make it 16-9 or something. I mean, come on, man. And it's not like Tampa Bay played that poorly. They just didn't score.
Well, here's the thing. Here's why they had 501 yards and only 3 points. Also, Tampa Bay had 29 first downs to Washington's 15. Tampa Bay held the ball for 31 minutes. Tampa Bay controlled the stat line, except for one little stat. They had 4 turnovers. They kept turning the ball over. And I'm really big as far as the turnover margin. If you lose the turnover margin, most likely you're going to lose the game. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick, it's not like Ryan Fitzpatrick played poorly. I mean, he was 29-41, 406 yards, and 2 picks. I mean, other than the 2 picks, he didn't play too bad. While you had a very patient Washington team, Alex Smith, 19 of 27, 178 yards and a touchdown. Adrian Peterson, 19 carries, 68 yards. But honestly, the biggest surprise of the week comes out there in the Music City. Tennessee mollywhopping the Patriots 34-10.
That was surprising. That's where it was going next.
I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you think Tom Brady is finally showing his age?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I didn't think he would be able to continue at that pace well into his 40s. In fact, I see Drew Brees dropping off after next season.
Well, Drew Brees is on a 2-year deal, and I think Drew Brees is probably going to beat that drop-off to the punch. I think he'll probably retire before he hits that age drop-off, honestly. Because he sees the potential in the team going towards in the future, like Taysom Hill and Teddy Bridgewater and all the young guys they have. And so I feel that before he hits that drop-off and before football starts really taking a toll on his body, he's probably going to retire. But I digress. Going back to the Tennessee game, and it really surprised me because Tennessee, they've had a struggling offense. They never, really had anything going offensively. Right now, Tennessee is 5-4, and they're keeping pace out there in the AFC in the hunt for the wild card. Mm-hmm. Marcus Mariota played one of his better games this season. He was 16 of 24, 228 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their wide receiver, Corey Davis, who I've been kind of waiting to break out, had a pretty good game at wide receiver. He was one of Marcus Mariota's favorite targets, 7 catches, 125 yards and a touchdown. And Tom Brady barely completed 50% of his passes, 21 of 41 for only 254 yards, and they struggled running the ball. I mean, Patriots as a team only picked up 284 yards of total offense, and it goes to show you, and 254 of that was passing. So that goes to show a lot about their struggle in the rushing game.
Yeah. So one thing that kind of Rams defense continues to struggle mightily, giving up 31 points to the Seahawks.
I really think that victory for the Rams was, one, it was a gutsy victory considering everything that transpired during the week, the California wildfires, and then there was a mass shooting out in LA as well. And so, I mean, LA, they went out and played with a lot of emotion and with a lot of guts and a lot of heart against a very tough Seattle team. Seattle, on the other hand, showed their potential. That they showed they can hang with some of the top teams in the NFL. I mean, Russell Wilson actually played a pretty good game. Rashad Penny, their rookie running back out of San Diego State, 12 carries, 108 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 9 yards a carry. But the Rams defense, yeah, they struggled, but the Rams offense looked like every week. They looked amazing. 28 of 39 for Jared Goff, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns. Todd Gurley, 16 carries, 120 yards. Brandon Cooks, 10 catches, 100 yards. I mean, the game was more even than anything. I mean, Seattle, 414 yards total offense. LA, 456 yards of total offense.
Yeah.
Seattle held the ball 30 minutes, 37 seconds. LA held the ball 29 minutes, 23 seconds. Seattle, 29 first downs. LA, 25 first downs. And I watched the game. It was a back and forth game. Like, both teams were scoring at will almost every drive.
Yep. Speaking of Los Angeles, what do you think? How do you think the Cooper Kupp injury is going to affect them?
Cooper Kupp, honestly, I mean, since last season, he's played a vital role in their offense. I mean, I think it's going to take a huge part of Jared Goff's arsenal away. So I am going to be looking for more of Robert Woods to step up. And I'm also going to be looking for their tight end Higbee to really step up as well. I mean, Cooper Kupp is a huge target for them.
You know, what do you think about the Saints? They kind of seem a little bit determined to sign a veteran wide receiver.
Well, the main reason why they bought in Dez Bryant and Brandon Marshall was because of the injury of Cam Meredith going on IR. And they bought in Dez Bryant thinking, okay, he's going to give us some production while Cam Meredith's on IR. 2 days later, he tears his Achilles. Now they got Brandon Marshall. I feel that Brandon Marshall will be a good addition to that offense. He brings veteran leadership to a young wide receiver core. I mean, Ted Ginn's on IR as well. I mean, they need receivers.
I mean, yeah, I kind of figured that they were bringing a veteran receiver in just because they have such a lack of experience on the receiving core now with getting out and Meredith on IR. Your second leading receiver is your number 2 running back. And then number 3 is your tight end, and then way off in the distance is your 3rd round draft pick.
Well, I mean, I feel that with the addition of Brandon Marshall, the offense is just going to stretch out a lot more, which would be pretty bad for the opposing defense. I mean, because you look at the weapons they got. Drew Brees out there. You got Mark Ingram. You got Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas. You got Traquan Smith, who's came out of his shell over the past few games. You got Brandon Marshall now. And so it's like, and you also got Taysom Hill. So it's like, as an opposing defender, now you're in a true game of chess with Pete Carmichael, Drew Brees, and Sean Payton.
Right. The thing with Marshall, I mean, obviously, this is not the Brandon Marshall from the Denver Bronco years.
True. I mean, the Saints have to accept that he's hit a huge drop off. They have to accept that. But I mean, like Sean Payton is an offensive technician. So there's no telling how Sean Payton's going to use him and how well Brandon Marshall would do in Payton's system.
Yeah, because he didn't work out too well with the Seahawks. Like 11 catches only, or something, like one touchdown and a few yards.
Like I said, I mean, I have full faith and confidence that Sean Payton's going to know how to use him.
Right, I have no doubt that he'll do better in Sean Payton's system. No question about that.
Because no matter who you are, Sean Payton's going to have some type of spot for you in his system to where you will contribute to where it could turn the tide of a game.
Yeah. Although Kirkland didn't do too bad in his debut when they brought him up from the practice squad. He actually had a catch for 42 yards, I believe.
He actually did. I believe that was in the second half, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Kirkwood, he actually impressed me. I was very impressed by him, and they were talking about how he got called from the practice squad. And, I mean, I feel that's the case. He got a bright future. He keeps doing what he's doing. He's gonna be targeted a lot more.
Yeah, really and truly, the Brandon Marshall / Des Bryant signing is to bring in some veteran leadership to that core.
I mean, you got Michael Thomas, he's in his second season. You got Tre'Quan Smith, he's a rookie. You got Austin Carr, hasn't been in long. You got Kirkwood, who's a rookie, came up from the practice squad. You need some type of veteran leadership. I mean, same reason why the Saints brought in Kurt Coleman to bring veteran leadership to the secondary.
Yeah. Should be a interesting season going forward. NFL-wise, it's been pretty unpredictable. College has been a little bit predictable, or should I say a little bit unpredictable. Didn't see Northwestern State repping the Big Ten. Not Northwestern State, just Northwestern. I get them confused sometimes. They both wear purple.
Yeah. And Northwestern's in Illinois. We're in Natchitoches. Northwestern State's in Natchitoches. We're not we're here in Baton Rouge. We digress from that.
Washington State, a little bit of a surprise. But, yeah, it's a college unfolded kind of, for the most part, as expected.
I mean, honestly, I feel that Mike Leach, he's channeling his early Texas Tech days. And in that Washington State offense, I'm seeing a little bit of that Texas Tech offense that Mike Leach had that was so deadly. I mean, you remember the Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree days at Texas Tech. And I feel that we're seeing it unfold here. Where I think we've been seeing it unravel for the past 2 and 3 seasons at Washington State. So Mike Leach, he finally has a team that he wants. And I feel that he's finally built the team that he wants that can compete in the Pac-12. And that could be a force to be reckoned with. Watch out for Washington State because they proved over the past 2 games. They gave up 13 to California. They only gave up 7 to Colorado. They have an offense that can sling it up and down the field, and they have a defense that can suffocate you as well. So if I'm a top 4 team, I would start looking at Washington State if I were you.
Well, that's about all for Let's Talk Football this week. Hope you join us next week as we continue on. You can find us on Twitter at AI Sports 3. We're on Facebook, AI Sports Network, and Apple iPod podcast. Excuse me. Yeah. Anyway, I'm John Behrens.
I'm Joshua Perkins.
And join us next time.
Bye, y'all.
Let's talk football.